Right, my dear friends, I'm very happy that you're with me this night because it's almost 2 a.m. and we are ready to start the first video. This is the SibEDGE course, part 1, and we have the present simple to consider today. Well, first let me talk a little bit about the structure of the video because there will be questions, I guess. So, the first thing we need to do is look at the levels. We have 6 groups, oh my god. So group 6 is actually A0 to A1. This is the very first level we have. Then we have groups 1 and 4, which are A2, groups 3 and 5 for B1, and group 2 for B2. So basically every group has to watch something. The whole video is made for all the groups. So basically the beginning of the video is for A1 groups, the next part is for A2, then B1, and then B2. So this is the video that you will have to watch. For example, if you are A1 or even A0, you just watch this part. So the part for A1. You will see a mark in the top right corner of the screen and it will say A1. If you are A2, then basically you need to watch the A1 part and A2. If you are a B1, you watch A1, A2 and B1. And if you are the luckiest group, group 2, which is B2, you need to watch A1, A2, B1 and B2. So you need to watch the whole video. Right, so this video will be published on our YouTube channel and you will have complete access to the video anytime when you feel like doing it, when the night is very cold and you don't have anything else to do. Just go online and find our video and you're welcome to be there. Now let's get started. We have the present simple to consider, and we basically have two parts of the present simple. So let's first look at this part of the present simple. So we have the present simple. It is a tense. Well, you know, in our system with verbs, it's a special tense that tells us about actions that happen usually, regularly, from time to time. That is, every week, every year, every day, and so on. So this is what the present simple is. So here is a sample sentence. I swim here every day. Well, it describes actions that are regular, that happen every day, right? So it's actually quite simple to remember. Present simple, it's always. And this is why I marked this word red. So you can see the structure of the present simple. It goes this way. We have the subject, the verb, and then everything else. And the verb we use is just taken from the dictionary. So if a verb in your dictionary has some form, you need to use this form in the present simple. Well, this form doesn't change for I, also for, well, you, also for we, also for they. Okay? So I swim here every day, you swim here every day, they swim here every day, and we swim here every day. But it does change, it changes for he, she, it. So he or she or it. So for these pronouns, it does change to swims. Okay? Alright. The negative sentence in the present simple will always feature don't or doesn't. So this is a small verb that we basically use to form the negative sentence in the present simple, or, well, questions. Okay? So the positive sentence, as you remember, is I swim. And the negative sentence will be I don't swim. Again, for you, for we, for they, and for I. We always use don't in negative sentences. We do well, many things to questions. Yeah, you see we have do here and we have does there, which is correct for questions. So questions are formed this way. We take this small verb, I'll mark it green, and we shift it basically to the beginning. So now it's right at the beginning, as you can see. And our subject, which is I, let it be yellow, we shift it to the next available spot. So it's now in the second place in the sentence. So we have do I swim, but the original sentence was I don't swim. So it was negative, so we had not. Now it's not negative anymore, so we have do I swim here every day. And take a look, the same happens with special questions. We have a question word, let it be gray, where, which goes first, but right after where we just take this question, you know, do I swim here every day? And exactly the same thing happens with where do I swim every day. Just the same sequence of words, just the same word order. And as you remember, we use doesn't, yeah, for he, she, it. So exactly the same thing happens. We change change the position of this auxiliary verb and becomes goes first, and then we have a subject which is he, and the subject becomes second, right? So instead of he doesn't swim here every day, we now have does he swim here every day? Or where does he swim every day? So this is what we do with third person, yeah, third person singular, he, she, it. So this structure is used to describe general actions, yeah, general truths or things that are correct, usually correct, and this is like one part of the present simple. As you can see, we have any other verb, so any other verb except one verb, so there is just one verb that works in a different way, and this verb is to be, so the present simple is to be only, yeah, this part. So you see we have a very stark contrast between the parts. We have the present simple with any verb and the present simple with to be, okay? So it's like a border between states. Do not cross the border. So there are two types of, you know, of the present simple. And here is the present simple with to be. My keyboard is on the table. I think the word order is exactly the same. So we have my keyboard, which is, well, which has to be yellow. And then we have the verb. Well, I hope, my dear friends, that by now you know the forms of the verb to be. When it becomes negative, right, we have my keyboard is not. So again, it becomes yellow or green, and when it's negative, oh, sorry, my bad. So when it becomes negative, we also use the negation not, right? So now is my keyboard on the table? Well, my keyboard has to be yellow, and is has to be green. We just change places. So is goes to the first place, my keyboard goes to the second place. And now the same, exactly the same happens with where and the verb and the subject. So this is the way it works. As you can see, here we had just one verb, swim. Yeah, let it be, for example, light blue. I swim, or he swims. But then over time it does change and we get two verbs. So instead of swim, we have don't swim, doesn't swim. Yeah, I hope you can see that. And yeah, so this is what happens in the present simple with any other verb. But things are different with the present simple with the verb to be, because we have just one verb. Here it is. My keyboard is on the table. Keyboard is not on the table. Still one verb. Is my keyboard on the table? Still one verb here at the beginning of the sentence. And then where is my keyboard on the table? We still have one verb here. Okay? So this is the present simple, basically the main idea. But please note a very important difference between the two parts. We have right now and always here. For example, if I say my keyboard is on the table now, I'm correct. But also if I say my keyboard is on the table like always, every day, then I'm also correct. So in this part we have two ideas, two meanings, while in the present simple with any other verb we have just one idea. Okay? So this is the present simple. There is a lot more literature on that, but this is like the basic idea, the basic workflow with the present simple. Now let's take a look at the second part. The second part is basically the present simple and the position of frequency adverbs. Well, as you might have seen, frequency adverbs are like always, forever, never, sometimes, every, well, every day is not an adverb, frequently, often, seldom, and so on. And their positions actually change depending on, well, the verb that you use in the sentence. So remember we have like to be in the left part, and we have the verb in the right part, which is here. So in this case, if it's the right part, one verb part, if it's a positive sentence, we usually put the frequency adverb before the verb. So we get I always go home after work, not I go always home, not I go home always, but I always go home. Because go is a verb and it has just one part, not many parts, just one. However, if you have two parts, for example, in negative sentences, remember there are two parts of the verb. We have do plus the adverb of frequency and plus, well, the verb itself. And here's an example. Bug trackers don't always help, right? So bug trackers don't always help. Don't is the auxiliary verb, always is the frequency adverb, and help is the verb here. So this is what happens when you have two parts of the verb. And we also have to be with the frequency adverb, like to be and always, yeah. So we use frequency adverbs after to be. For instance, I'm always very attentive. I'm always very attentive. So to be, here it's in this form, it is am, and then we have the frequency adverb always. And I'm always very attentive. I hope, my dear friends, that you can say the same about yourselves. So this is the position of frequency adverbs. And the simplest part today is for you know, the elder group, if I dare say so. The present simple is used additionally, so this is only for B2. We have two additional uses that I can think of. The first one is main actions in sports commentary. For example, well, Wayne Rooney passes to Rio Ferdinand, and Rio Ferdinand hits the ball with his, well, right foot and scores. So main actions in sports commentary are generally the present simple. We also use the same tense, the present simple, for future to talk about timetables. For example, instead of saying my bus will leave for Boston at 6 p.m., we generally say my bus leaves for Boston at 6 p.m. Because it's a timetable schedule that you have somewhere. For example, buses, concerts, theaters, movies, anything. So they start on, well, according to timetables, and when you describe that, even the future, you still use timetables. For example, tomorrow my class with you starts at 9:30, which is like 7 hours from now. So the present simple for future, for timetables. Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Basically, this is the end of the first video. Not to worry you, not to exhaust you too much, and there will be a couple of links to, well, videos that I think might help you improve your knowledge in the field of the present simple, especially for the B2 group. There are 2 links to illustrate what I was talking about. Well, I hope you liked the video. It was the first one and the first now, and I hope to see you all tomorrow and get ready for the next videos. Thank you.